alive. Oh, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
I love you.
I know. What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Hello and welcome to the final Oscar episode of the How to Be a Movie Snob podcast. We're here, guys. We've done it. We've done it. It's almost like we've won the Oscar ourselves. It almost is.
We certainly deserve a trophy for getting through all 10, I think.
I think so, too. I am joined, folks, in case you can't tell, by the money-making Mariah.
Yeah.
Is it money-making or the money?
I haven't made any.
No, I guess.
I think you just called it money.
Does Rakuten shopping count? I believe I got my $27 big fat check the other day. So.
Costco, would I get that check back?
6 months,
tell
man.
me what.
6 months will get you.
We are also joined from afar, not near, but far. Relative. Mr. Punctual Pat himself, always on time.
Oh.
Always with a smile.
I don't hate that.
And a laugh.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hey, Pat.
Hi. If people remember me as punctual, I think that would be inaccurate, but I wouldn't mind it.
I don't know. I feel like out of the three of us, you're probably the most punctual. Well, you like to come early.
That's...
Mariah.
I have ebbs and flows.
Oh, you come and go.
I think that the older I get, the more punctual I am.
I literally
The bar isn't super high, though.
Oh, okay. I literally thought Mariah's like, yes, that's what ebbs and flows means, Seth. It comes and goes.
Yeah, that's the definition.
Literal definition.
Excellent simile you just used there.
It's similar. And guys, it's me, Seth.
Who is not punctual.
Not punctual. But I come with energy.
Sassy
Seth. Sassy Sethy Bear. There's a lot of things that go around. I'll just move on from there. Audience, we have, I'm going to say this, the doozy of all doozies of Oscar nominated movies this time.
2024.
Of 2024. This is the last Best Picture nomination. We have reviewed all 9. Well, actually, sorry guys, a little secret. We're so snobby on this podcast. We didn't review Barbie and Oppenheimer. Yeah, that's right. I know.
But we did.
We know
we did
you all
them.
watched them.
And we watched them too. We
all know what you all thought.
And we all watched them before we watched any of the other movies. We'll be honest. Well, Mariah did.
And I've watched
I was
them
late to Oppenheimer.
multiple times.
Wow, Pat, you are.
I have watched Barbie multiple times.
Wow, I guess I am less snobby than these folks, but we all know that, folks. That's why I'm trying to become a movie snob. This week's...
We're here to help.
Thanks, guys. This week's movie is in a different language. Mm-hmm. It is a period piece. Mm-hmm. It has...
Different language than English, to be clear.
True. Folks, this is actually an English-speaking podcast, so...
English language podcast.
So...
we're gonna
like to say
we're
sorry.
gonna pick a different language this evening.
Yeah, so lo siento. This is not the Spanish speaking way. Me guanxi. This is not the Chinese one. But we're the English speaking How to Be a Movie Snob. You can check out the other versions on the other. That would be amazing if we had these translated into like 5 different languages. Yes, this is in the German language. It is a period piece. It is not a real feel-good movie at all. Not really one you bring the kids to. It is The Zone of Interest. Mm-hmm. It's a very misleading title, except for the fact that the book is of the same name. And they do talk a little bit about that. This one, we have a lot of feelings about this one, I'm sure. And that's kind of the point. Before we get into it, this is directed by...
Jonathan Glazer.
The Mr. Jonathan Glazer. One movie a decade is just fine for me, Glazer.
Yeah, I did have to double check.
Yeah.
Like, what?
He's like, Stanley Kubrick.
Just 4? Okay.
A little too fast. Let me slow it down, Stanley. You're making movies at a little too fast a rate. So,
but when they come out, they're definitely interesting.
Yes, and
Yeah.
you definitely say experimental would be perhaps the way he goes. He's not stuck in one thing or another. His movies have a lot of, and they're not universally loved, but they are definitely pushing the envelope. They are snobby. I would go on a ruse, like that's not a stretch, and they are also very poignant sometimes, and so it's kind of a treat to have him in this year's awards as well. Mm-hmm. This is starring Sandra Hüller is back. Sandra, the second movie. Oh my gosh, I know. Give applause. And she's speaking 3 languages and 2 movies, 4 languages. Anyways, there's a lot. She's incredible. The actor, I don't have the actor's name. He's incredible as well. Mariah, what's his name?
Christian Friedel.
Oh yes, and he is one of our main. I don't know if you want to say protagonists. Do we even call them protagonists?
He's the lead.
He's the lead. Whew. Guys, there's a lot to unpack, but before we do that, we are starting the same way we always do with cold brews and hot takes. We usually start from far, and then we go to near. So, Pat, bring us home with your hot take on the zone of interest.
Yeah, so this one, because we're in Oscar season, my hot take, maybe, I don't know how many people agree or disagree with me, but it's about an award this wasn't nominated for. I think it's a travesty this was not nominated for cinematography.
Nice. I like that. And I agree.
Insane.
Yep. That's good. No arguments here.
Yeah,
No arguments here at all.
I concur.
Yeah, I actually have to look at the cinematography
So then it's
list.
not that hot take, at least in this.
In this one.
company.
Well, it's hard. I got to look at the cinematography, so I'll pull
Hot take compared to the Academy, I suppose.
Yeah. Lukewarm take,
Since
guys.
they did not
Yeah.
nominate.
Okay, Mariah, are you ready? Or do you want me to... Do you want to bring us home?
I'd like to wrap.
You like to wrap
number
it up.
3.
My hot take, also may not be a hot take, is this is the snobbiest Oscar-nominated movie. So if you want to be a movie snob, this should be number 1 on your list. Boo to Oppenheimer, boo to May December, boo to all the others. This is the snobbiest movie. Sorry, poor things. You're not snobby enough. This is by far the snobbiest movie of the Oscars, and I feel like this helps us get closer to being movie snobs just by watching this and talking about it, because it is the snobbiest by far.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, guess it wasn't a hot take then.
Yeah, I don't think mine's super hot either, but I am 99% sure this is the foreign language best picture.
Nice.
This is going to win.
Yeah.
Sorry, all you other guys.
I have another hot take later, but we'll get to it just because I think when we discuss this...
Also, partly because Anatomy of the Fall isn't even on the foreign language.
Oh, my gosh. Well, that's hilarious. Yeah, that's another travesty as well. But
Yeah.
that's politics. Am I
This
right?
will win.
So, next up, the Summer Mariah, sponsored by no one. Unsullied by sponsorship since 2020. We have,
I think you go earlier and
22
earlier every time.
it still wasn't
Since
sponsored then either, I guess.
1994.
Since this movie came out, actually since this movie started production 17 million years ago, because that's about Jonathan Glazer's speed. Okay, Mariah, take us up with a Summer Rising.
Yeah. 1943. We are pretty well into the Second World War. This movie takes place right next to Auschwitz concentration camp.
Oof.
The gentleman who runs Auschwitz, the commandant, is the father in this little family movie.
Which it definitely is.
It's family drama.
They have built their little home next door. It's a beautiful garden. It's a lovely home. There's children playing. And just outside the wall is, like, the things that happened at Auschwitz. You can hear them sometimes in the background.
But you never see it.
You don't ever see
never
it. But
see it.
it's always there. You
I
know
can't wait
it's
to talk
there.
about this.
Yeah. So basically the plot is these guys are living their lives next door while he's running the show.
Mm-hmm.
And he does so well running the show, he gets promoted to run multiple shows of concentration camps. And there's some family
Planning
dynamics.
The biggest horrible show.
Yeah.
Yep. And he gets transferred.
He gets transferred. She loves her home and doesn't want to leave Auschwitz, so they stay.
That line itself. She loved her home and didn't want to leave Auschwitz. Like, how?
Yeah. I mean, that's really the big plot here. It's
It really is.
how these people live next door to Auschwitz and all the things that happen over the fence. And it's
Okay.
heavy and beautiful and
Awful and doesn't let you off the hook for 1 second. I don't even know where to start with this, guys, because I want to jump into so many different aspects of this movie. I want to talk about how they filmed it, because it's a film like no other movie was filmed this year. I want to talk about how they shot it and did research for it, and how they did the soundscapes. And I want to talk about the actual plot of how it is. So let's first talk about just your reaction when you watched it. Like,
well, can we say what it was nominated for?
oh yeah,
too?
sorry folks. This is nominated for Best Picture and
Best Director.
Best Director
and Sound.
Best adapted screenplay.
Best Screenplay, which is a weird thing to get nominated for since it's so different than the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, they basically took the title
And the
premise?
feeling?
Turning historical
Let's
fiction
talk
into
about
just
that first.
history.
Literally.
and then actually made it.
Yeah.
a real
Okay,
story.
so folks, this is an adapted screenplay, which is hilarious to me because the only thing that really Jonathan Glazer got from the book of Zone of Interest is, it's interesting that it's the family life from the German side of the people who run Auschwitz. So he's like, it'd be cool, better than that.
Yeah.
What if I just researched the actual family that ran Auschwitz so intensely?
It was based on them. Names were changed, focused on their relationship.
But it's the
how the book worked.
Yeah, but in the movie, it's
Jonathan
the actual names.
Yeah, backed it up, put the real names in it, did the research on the real people.
Rebuilt the house, and because the house is still there, but they rebuilt the house
Planted the garden
Actually, they didn't
years before
rebuild
they
the
filmed
house.
so that it would be lush and full, just like it
Yep.
They
had
did
been.
make a set
Yes,
next door.
exactly right. And they still were at Auschwitz. They still, oh my goodness, like they got conversations that were heard, and they remade those conversations. So the fact that calling this an adapted screenplay is like saying, I saw a Top Gun poster and then I made Black Hawk Down.
Yeah.
Like,
How often
the
do we
concept
back up a historical
of
fiction novel and
military-
turn it into a biography?
it was a military flying thing. So I figured, well, I might as well just research this, a helicopter
What if there
crash.
was a real version of this?
So I think that should be not the award they were given, but actually cinematography. I'm totally with you on that, Pat, because that is hilarious.
Yeah, I
So-
agree.
I mean,
it should have got
He did a lot of work to adapt it, right? Like, there's plenty of effort. Out of all the maybe outside of Barbie, the amount of new material that they had to bring to adapt this is pretty intense.
How is that called adapting? That is creating anew with the thought, with just taking the title. I don't like. That's why I just think.
Well, same with Barbie.
Yeah,
What are you adapting?
Yeah.
Their names,
yeah. Well, that should be adapted either, in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
like,
which technically, they had Auschwitz, and the World War II existed, and then this movie was made.
Congratulations. So do all the zombie movies out there too. About anyways, so that's weird to me that when I read that, I'm like, I was like, oh, bummer. I remember reading, oh, bummer, this is from a novel. And then Jonathan Glazer be Jonathan Glazer. He's like, yeah. So then I just changed it to the actual person.
I ripped the cover off the novel and threw the rest in the garbage, and then I filled it in myself.
Actual history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
He read the title and he looked at the back page and he thought, "There's a movie in here."
I just need to put it in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just go research it for a decade.
Oh my gosh.
Including interviewing actual survivors and
Yes.
actual
Please
girl
talk
who was
about that. Please talk about
beating,
that, guys.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So we were not in the movie. We didn't talk about this in the summarizing, but talk about the Apple Girl.
Yes. Based on a real girl, a 12-year-old girl. Alexandria. Glazer went to Auschwitz, was doing all his research, met this 90-year-old woman who did, in fact, put the apples out in the middle of the night. And he met her, talked to her, and she died shortly after. But they used her actual dress and they used her actual bicycle in the movie.
I thought that was insane.
Wow.
That both
What
of those
a crazy thing.
she still had.
Yes.
Well, they were
It's crazy.
They're both German made, so it makes sense to me. I mean,
They last forever, you guys.
so I didn't, and that helps me out too because we'll jump into the cinematography here in a little bit, but there's these Jonathan Glazer does a lot of visual things that are like unapologetically like bright red in your face, black in your face, white in your face. And then all of a sudden he switches the camera to
Night vision.
Thermal.
Thermal.
Thermal
Yeah,
vision,
not
night vision, yeah.
thermal.
The FLIR X8500. I don't know. Anyways, so and all of a sudden you're like, wait, what am I like? It's so abrupt and it's so. But it's for this girl who's going to, I assume, where all the bodies are buried.
Where they're working during the day.
Of course they're working.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's
that
it.
when they
Hiding
come and
food.
do the work the next day, they find this food hidden everywhere.
Yes.
That's
Some
all
food
by
hidden.
their shovels and
Yes.
their. Yeah.
And so she's doing this at night. And she works in the house, or what's her?
She supposedly worked in the mines, but she never
Okay.
went to. I don't think she was actually.
Yeah, she wasn't in the mines, but she like worked for the mining company or
Got
something. I'm not.
Yeah.
But in the movie,
forget
she's
what it was.
just in the house, right?
You only see her.
Yeah, we don't know.
You only see her leaving
other
the
than-
house at night and
Got
going
it.
in the
Okay.
dark and the.
And then
So
playing
that
the
yeah.
piano.
Yes.
Right.
Because
Yes.
she finds a composition from one of the prisoners that was left and she plays
Oof.
it, goes home and plays this beautiful thing. Oh,
Guys,
what was interesting too
Oh.
about that was, I'm pretty sure maybe it was both times. It's set against, Rudolph reading,
Yes,
like a bedtime story, right?
Hansel and Gretel.
And so
yeah.
you have this. When it first happens, you're like, "Oh, is this the story that we're seeing visualized?" Because it's got this otherworldly quality.
Listener.
and then you're like, "Oh no, this is real."
There will be spoilers. There
Yeah.
will be spoilers. I apologize. We
And
didn't do it
then-
on the front of the
Spoilers,
episode.
spoilers, spoilers.
Yeah, and
But this isn't going to spoil the movie. I'm just
Right.
be real.
Also,
And to simplify the plot
this
too.
all already happened in
To-
life.
Yeah. To simplify the plot, and you're not thinking about where they're next to and what his job actually is, and if you're really just looking at the relationship, it's, this guy gets a promotion, but they've already made this really happy home life, and she doesn't want to leave their house where they've, the children are growing up and going to school, and she has friendships and all this, amazing stuff. And so he does a good job and he gets promoted, and it sucks for his family, and so
Yeah.
there's that whole like dynamic with him and his wife. Well, good for you, but I'm not leaving, and talking to his boss, and can they stay here at this house? It's like probably has happened to so many people. We've established our lives here, we don't want to be transferred, and so
But-
there's that
and
piece
also-
of not that they're horrible people for a moment.
Yeah, but and subtly to me, there's you know, a lot of this movie is about kind of compartmentalization, or you know, the quote everyone associates, which is apt, is the banality of evil. But like, she is the wife, you know, and you get a few moments of how kind of evil she is with some of the lines she throws out.
But not till later. Not till
Yeah.
she's not till he.
But there's
yeah.
clearly, like, she is really compartmentalizing as well, in that like she and her husband feel like they're living two different lives, because he has to go over the wall and back. She's living only in her little world. And when he talks even about specifics, like on the phone call toward the end, she's like, it's late, you know, like she's kind of curt with him. And there's just this interesting, like, she's pushing him away. I feel like their marriage isn't good. I think their life is good.
Yeah.
As I guess they're successful in their Nazism. But
he was unfortunately
they're
very
clearly
successful.
distant, and he's cheating. And yeah, it's just interesting. Like, you see the toxicity of what they're doing seeping in to this idyllic life that I thought was interesting. There's a lot of that in this movie. The layering of how are these people coping, and then you see people like her mother, who comes to visit briefly, who initially was like, wow, you've done well for yourself, and then cannot handle
that
The
scene.
sounds,
being there.
what's happening all around. Yeah, there's people that are in this movie that are actually so uncomfortable with what's happening that they're upset about it, and these guys are just doing their darndest to, you know, I'm going through all these clothes, and, you know, my servants, you guys can each pick out a shirt, and these are prisoners' possessions that were taken from them.
There's when the wives come over, I forget who they even are. I don't think we were really told. Just wives of other, you know, officers, and they're talking about like, oh, I got this coat from Canada,
the mink
and
or
they're
something.
like, yeah, they're like, ha ha ha, and I didn't get it in the movie,
Neither.
but apparently they called the storage facility where they put all of the Jewish belongings Canada with like a K.
Yeah.
And so when she's talking about getting things from Canada, and people are thinking it's the country, it's actually the facility.
Yeah.
And so they thought it was so funny.
Yeah, I didn't
Just like,
catch
my
on to
gosh.
that whole thing till I read up on that later. I was like, oh,
Yeah, I mean, that was like an
gross.
interesting, kind of interesting too. Imagine knowing nothing about World War II and the Holocaust, and you watch this movie.
Oh,
You would know nothing, really.
No.
so
you'd be like,
you'd be like, what is happening?
Yeah.
What are all, you know, like something bad is happening over the wall.
okay.
yeah, and his business meetings talking about how to do this more efficiently and, like, you know, more productivity. It's like, no, the productivity is you burning thousands of people.
Yeah. So
And how you can
we
keep
gotta
it
talk
going
about how they
quickly
made this
and-
first. Okay, so we're jumping. I feel like we're jumping ahead too quickly, guys.
It's
you're-
so many
I know.
things.
I know.
I think it's fair
Movie.
to jump back and forth
Okay,
between the
because
disturbing and the
Before we talk
production.
about like what that does, we have to talk about how they did this, because for
Yes.
those people who don't understand what this movie is, what's the most disrupting about this movie is it's just a movie about a family being upset and being torn apart because of job, because of different wants in their lives, different desires, and but it's almost as if they don't even know that there's a horrible thing going on around them, except for the background noises. And I'm going to take a pause, and this kind of ruins. It doesn't ruin it, but it explains so much. It's basically two movies. When Jonathan Glazer made this, he made it one, the acting movie,
Yeah, the movie you see.
the movie you see, and the crazy part is, and I still can't believe this. That was like they all knew where they were. They knew how somber it was, the actors, when they were doing this, and so it's still like it weighs heavy. But then there's the sounds, and the sounds were not present when they were filming, which to me is crazy because like okay, so then, sorry, audience, like I remember. So what they then did is they thought of every sound. Imagine this horrible job that could be happening at Auschwitz extermination camp. Every gun, every shot, every scream, every yelling, every dog barking, every sound of the furnace,
trains arriving,
trains,
Yeah.
people coming and going, the shovels digging, and all of that is going on, but not so close that like you can hear things, but it's just barely there. And then that was laid over the movie that was made. So, and they said it took just as long to make the soundscape as it did to make the movie with that.
And the conscious decision to take a fully finished score and use almost none of it because
I didn't know that.
The guy did the whole score
And
to
they
the
didn't use
movie.
any of
They
it.
used the beginning and
They used
ending,
it
I
in the
believe.
Beginning and end, basically.
Wow, that's crazy.
Because it made so much more sense to just hear the sounds. And really the only one thing I noticed that I didn't notice maybe when I was listening to, I understood while watching the movie that a lot of things were muffled a little bit, but that there was actively a motorcycle being driven around and revved from time to time to drown out those sounds because it was
like that historically.
the screams. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yes. Yeah, because they didn't want the people to have to hear that all the time.
Yeah.
They would rather hear a motorcycle revving.
So, I did not know that. That is, and that's the other thing. So
gross.
the most,
Oh my gosh.
and I love that you guys mentioned. So you mentioned like the beginning of the movie. It really kind of builds into things, and you don't even know what's going wrong at the very beginning. And that was the part I started. I'm like, oh, what am I even watching right now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, normal meeting. It's the guy's birthday. Cool. They're bringing plans for something. Oh, this is a more efficient way to kill. And it just felt so matter-of-factly.
Yeah.
And then the movie did build, and then you see how it's emotionally wrecking the family, even though they're acting like everything's okay. And the part that got me, of course, was the kids. Like the kids playing with the teeth, and the kids, like that was where
Having to jump out of the river.
out of the river, and then the kid playing and like saying something.
Yeah, it was like, don't ever do that again.
Don't ever do that
or- I
again. And
forget.
there's like the emotional damage for the commandant's kids
Mm-hmm.
was just heartbreaking because they're still these innocent kids, even though their parents are Nazis. Like it's just,
It felt like the older boy who was part of the Hitler Youth, he had his uniform on and everything. He was like fully sociopathed,
Yeah.
basically. But it
Yeah.
felt like the younger boy was
Yes.
still sensitive.
very
to
sensitive.
things and didn't have the cruelty totally built into him yet. And,
Yeah.
But, how could he not living in that space and like your dad is successful and doing, it's so
Hear
crazy.
those noises,
And so
Yeah.
I was which brings me back to the thought, I couldn't believe that they didn't know what sounds were going on in the background. So like the scene when the mom is like kind of sitting there and like, if I thought it was like she was uncomfortable because what she was hearing, but they were probably just saying like, this is what's going.
Yeah.
And same with the son, when the youngest son is playing by himself, I thought like, oh, they must be playing these sounds. So we can hear, but it was just
But
like
it maybe
the
didn't
one-
have anything.
Oh
yet,
my
even.
gosh! So all
But
of
I
that.
think that also, what's interesting about that, and I didn't know that. I guess it makes sense in that movies don't typically have sound effects pumped in.
Yeah, you don't have the
as it's
soundtrack
going.
going. Yeah.
And Glazer did
But-
it on purpose because he wanted to make sure that they were just trying to live a normal life without that going on.
Yes,
That was
it
literally
felt
the-
isolated.
well,
yes.
also without a
And the-
crew in there with them.
Yes. Oh my gosh, we gotta talk about
Oh,
that
that's
now.
the other cool.
Let's
Okay,
get
now
into
we got.
this, Seth.
We gotta
Let's
jump
go,
into the okay.
videographer guy.
So the first thing we have to talk about, of course, was the ultrasound, which the thermal cameras, which was, it was so abrupt. It was so like, oh, punch you in the face. This is what's going on. This is so
It
different.
was
also
such a contrast to what
Yes.
had already
Felt-
been.
And that's exactly right.
And it was like there is there's a bunch of ways to read into it. She's angelic in that there's light emanating from her, and what she's doing is light in this dark world. Where even though the other one there's color, but it's all facade. There's no inner light, and so you think about it that way. But the other part was just practical.
Yeah.
They're like, well, they did everything with natural light. There was no artificial lighting done on the set. So they're like, well, how do we film a girl going through a pitch black work camp?
Yeah.
We have to use a thermal camera.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is sort
Wow.
of interesting to a lot of the other movies we watched. They were fully committed to using modern technology for everything they did in this movie. In terms of cameras, right? It wasn't like we're shooting
21st century lens.
Yeah, it's like, so yeah, they're perfectly comfortable using the FLIR because they're like, well, that's the best way to capture this thing we're capturing.
And they're shooting with Sonys, which have the best low light of anything else, because like you're not going to use a red weapon because those are like, they need tons of light. So yeah, they're using the Sonys because they know they can capture a great image with low light and not have to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's not like they're going to try to shoot and film like,
Yeah.
like Oppenheimer.
But that FLIR scene or scenes, to me, it seemed like it started from a practical perspective. How do we capture any of this with the constraint they put on themselves of no artificial lighting? But to me, there's all these visual,
The symbolism.
symbolism that you can take. Thank you. About how otherworldly these scenes are to this place and time.
This is the one person in the whole area making a good decision and being selfless.
And so it is flipped in a way, right? It becomes this inverted reality. Anyway, stuff like that to me, as jarring as that was when you first watched it, thinking about it, it was awesome. Just all these things you can kind of apply to it and try and take away. And that's what I really like about Jonathan Glazer. As hard as his movies are to watch, they are so ripe for pontificating and analyzing and podcasting about. So,
being a movie snob about.
Yeah. If you like to pick
you,
apart
Mr.
movies,
Glazer.
he's a good one to pick apart.
How do you guys feel
But
about?
then, should we?
How do you feel about
go on.
the bright, moving into the red, moving into the white, moving into the
or starting in 2 minutes or whatever of black.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was an unsettling amount of time, which of course was the intent.
Always. Yeah.
And I was like, should I be hearing more things? Should I, where are we? And it's like, this movie is not a movie you're expecting. I'm just gonna sit here in black.
And that was I've never watched Jonathan Glazer before, so I was very I didn't know what to think. I literally didn't know what to think. And so I remember almost jumping in my seat when he switched it to the night vision. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
But it helped that we'd always start with the black. We'd already gone to a red screen at that point. We'd already gone to these.
It felt like you jumped into Sin City, like the way, like the highlighting and the darkness and all. It was just like, this is just totally different. This is almost animated.
Yeah.
This is just, so crazy.
But yet it still didn't let you go. Like Sin City, you still feel like, oh, that's over there.
Yeah.
And this is still right here.
Mm-hmm.
And
once you realize
everything
what
else
she
is
was
shot so
doing,
realistically.
Oh yeah. So we got to talk.
How was the rest of it shot?
Oh my gosh, Big Brother is calling, and they're jealous of you, Jonathan Glazer, because. So this is the crazy thing. They had these lights, and I was watching this, and I was trying to figure out because at first you start outside. I'm like, okay, cool, this is great.
Pretty
this
garden.
is classic.
Yeah.
Filming doesn't matter what camera you're using; it's all gonna look pretty. And then all of a sudden you're like in the rooms. Okay, this lighting's kind of weird. And there's a couple shots like above, like when they're looking down at the books and the kids who are super curious, which is another terrifying part of this movie, is the curious kids figuring out the horribleness of what they're living in, but not really quite putting it together. They set up these houses with hidden cameras, and there's no director or people on set. It's just these cameras hidden throughout this old Nazi house.
And microphones.
And they're just
The sound and the picture.
they're just in another building. So like, all right, let's do the whole. They don't know, like, there's no blocking. There's no like hit your mark
That's
and
the
say this
craziest
line.
part to me.
Dude, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard of. Like, made on the editing room. Yeah, of course this was made in the editing room, but it was also like a full. They said they did, what was it, 8-minute takes or some crazy thing. Sandra
Maybe.
Hüller was like, yeah, we never had anything like less than like an 8-minute take.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
Well, the fact that he had
She was comfortable with from theater back then.
800 hours before the editing started
Stupid.
of film to go through.
That stresses me out. That's.
Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
beautiful movie, but that's stupid. Come on, guys.
Well, and that's, and maybe it was they were able to just, because they had so much content, pick to me the most gorgeous framings, because and probably there's a lot to just how the shots were, how they would have to work, because there's a lot of shooting down a hallway or shooting, through a doorway, so they had all these kind of nice compositions set
Sure,
up. So
of course.
So if the activity got to that area,
They did.
it would look good.
Yeah.
But there was, I remember I first noticed something was kind of crazy, was they did shot reverse shot, I think a couple times on action. And I was like, that is the exact same action. That is not someone repeating the action. And I was like, how did they do that? Because it wasn't like, oh, we comped out the camera team. Or
Yeah,
whatever. I was
right.
like,
Where
nope.
where were the
That's-
guys holding the camera?
Yeah, I was like, how did they do that?
Yeah.
And then learning
Nanny
later, I was like,
cams.
oh, they hid cameras places. It's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But it made it so naturalistic. And Sandra
Yeah.
Hüller commented like how comfortable it was, and you just immersed yourself in the world. And yeah, bonkers choice.
yeah.
I think it paid off great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also kept a distance to them.
Yeah.
I think because of that, right? Like we don't have a ton of close-ups.
No, because how would you zoom in? How would you can't do
Right.
it close up. So you're always having these medium to wide shots. Like there's
Which
no
is
Everyone
way.
a
good
little
because
bit
does
at a
anybody
distance.
want to see their face up close? Because no, they're just
Okay, so
despicable.
to me, the part when I knew something's up is when we were in the movie for 15 minutes before we had a microphone close enough to one of the main actors
To
where
hear
it
anybody?
felt like they were actually talking with any dialogue that we needed to know, because it was
Is
all
this
background
just going to be
sound.
them wandering
I li-
around and seeing
I was-
smoke in the background?
I literally thought, like, is this just gonna be background audio? No actual foreground. Like, it felt like, hey, when's the actors gonna show up and start like the dialogue? And it wasn't until I think she had her baby with the flowers that she actually was like,
Oh, right. Like
you actually could hear her.
Yeah.
And that was the first time.
In the
And
garden.
but before that, like, who am I paying attention to? And oh my gosh, yeah. So
somebody
I
was like, you go first, kids, as they're coming back from the river or whatever it was, right? And you're like, what is happening?
and the audio.
It's a
oh,
crazy movie.
It's crazy. Okay, so the hidden cameras is crazy. That the stuff, all that is unlike
Well,
anything we've
I think
seen.
even I definitely want to just comment again, like shooting only in natural light.
Yeah, oh yeah, we gotta talk about that.
is-
There's no, because even like you're building this whole set. Usually, I'll throw some freaking big lights. if you'll throw some big lights up there, but they didn't do that. They just did the regular lighting that would have been of the period and still shot with that. And to me, that blew. I have a light right
Thankfully,
here
the house had a lot
for
of
a
windows.
podcast, and they don't
got
have
some good-
anything.
they
It's
had some good-
mind blowing.
Yeah, they had some good daylight coming through, but that's all
But
they got.
still, that's
all
nothing.
you had.
That is nothing in the film world when you're usually shooting cinema cameras with cinema lenses. Like, it's just nuts.
Well, and I felt like, and maybe the difference is Jonathan Glazer's like, yeah, we'll use a FLIR camera when it's pitch black, but when Alejandro, what's Leo DiCaprio movie where he's mauled by a bear? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, the
Revenant.
Yeah, the Revenant.
Yeah, Revenant.
Revenant.
That
yeah.
when that came out and was made, they so much fuss around natural light, right? No artificial lighting, and
Dude, that's got nothing on
again,
this
they're
thing.
out-
Nothing on this
they're out
thing.
in the wilderness,
Exactly right.
in all times of day. But like this, no one's talking about that really. It's just like, yeah, we didn't use any artificial lighting either. You know, like
That's
to me, that's like a
crazy.
big deal, right? Like there's so much cheating you do, and a big part of directors of photography's job is to light stuff in a way that is interesting.
Yeah, dude, no, that's not cheating. That's called doing your job. It's not called
Well,
cheating.
yeah, but like, but cheating in that you are making a situation artificial so that it's understandable, right? Like
right.
people hiding in a closet in the dark, you're gonna find some way to kind of light them so you can see what's happening.
Right, for sure.
And this movie is like, thermal camera.
Crazy.
Like, it's just, to me, I think that choice is interesting, but then feeling free enough in your perspective and aesthetic to then go, we're gonna solve that problem with a FLIR camera, is really exciting to me in the filmmaking. As a viewer, you're like, oh, you just broke a rule. Like you didn't introduce other movies, Sicario, there's like big night vision scenes, but that's in world. People are wearing night vision, right? It's
for
not
sure.
like,
And that they
we're just gonna
usually introduce
shoot
it. Exactly right. They usually introduce it.
It's like, nope, this is just,
This is what we're doing, baby.
so-
I'm Jonathan Glazers.
yeah,
What are you gonna do now?
I love that so much.
Yeah, this is bold is an understatement for this film. Understatement for this film.
But I will say the black at the beginning, the red wipe, those are jarring to me in ways, again, probably super intentional. Like, think about your life, in these moments, or be unsettled or whatever.
We're
but
going to
because
start
the
you off
aesthetic,
uncomfortable before we even give you what's going to make you even more uncomfortable.
Yeah. But even the later transitions where you're going from very normal aesthetic, naturalistic, to the whole thing's bleeding red felt, I don't know, very 70s horror movie or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're like, okay, interesting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the cinematography, guys, it's unlike any movie you've ever seen, and it helps make it feel more, I'd say, organic, more real, more like you're there. And there still are close-ups. Like there are parts where the husband and wife go back and forth, and
And
so visceral, is that the word? Is that what the word I want to use? But
I shot a lot of the exterior shots. They're on the dock, or they're at, like, there are gorgeously staged shots throughout the movie, which makes it really interesting that those internal to the house scenes, where they're sort of milling about doing whatever, that still fits in aesthetically and doesn't feel like we drop in quality, is kind of insane for how clearly blocked. I started looking for it. I was like, okay, is Sandra Hüller gonna get past the bushes line, and so she's framed perfectly in the river? And I was like, yes, she is. There's just so much gorgeous blocking and framing and compositions. It was a gorgeous movie to look at. And again, in the meta layers of the movie, you're seeing pretty images set against the most horrifying thing imaginable.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of Sandra, she it was interesting to me because as a German actress, she said she would never play a Nazi.
yeah, that's right. I saw that interview.
But got the
incredible.
story and was convinced by seeing how they were going to do it, and that she finally signed on to it. But yeah,
I still can't get
how. But how hesitant would anybody be too,
Oh.
as an actor? Like, you're going to be the commandant of Auschwitz, and you're going to be the longest sitting commandant of Auschwitz, like the most successful.
Which means you're the worst.
Yeah, you killed the most people.
Yeah.
You're the grossest.
Yeah, I mean, you know, people played Hitler.
Okay,
That's-
the end. We want to jump into the part where he goes to the party, and he talks about that, and do we want to talk about kind of toward the end? So this isn't.
Love to talk about that.
I would, yeah. So
what does it all mean?
So he goes to this. He goes to get. The guy who replaces him at Auschwitz doesn't do as good of a job. He's obviously more, he's a better worker. He's more efficient, unfortunately. And then he's going to this party. He's talking with everybody. Has too much to drink, but there's little things like he calls his wife on a phone in the middle of the war, which is like so high tech back then. And he's like, all I can think about is how much gas it would to kill everyone in this room.
How I would gas everyone in the room.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
With really high ceilings.
And she's like, it doesn't even care. It doesn't even faze her.
She's like, do you know what time it is
Yeah,
here?
time it- oh,
Gotta
it's
go
just-
to bed.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think that it did
Are
phase
the kids
her.
excited to see me?
Yeah, I think
was a broken
him
family.
talking about the work, I think she was not keen on. I think also, yeah, she just wasn't into him too. I think again, there's layers. You can interpret that scene so many ways.
But it wasn't like
But-
she was morally repulsed by it. It was just she was annoyed by him
No,
talking
it was just
about
like
work.
it's a little gauche, you know. We don't
Yeah.
talk about that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
She's
yeah.
not like, you're a psycho murderer. You should know that about yourself. But no, she didn't care about that. She cared the fact, like,
No.
dude, just let's.
Well, and just
yeah.
that whole, I mean, just right after that part where they decide this is where we're going to bring you to right now, and they're in
Well, he goes down the
Auschwitz,
stairs,
present day.
Oh yeah, so yeah. yeah,
he
exactly
started,
right.
and then
Oh yeah.
Gets
yeah,
off
don't-
the phone,
Don't jump the. We're gonna. We gotta talk about
starts
that. We gotta
heading
build
down
that
the
whole thing.
stairs,
So he-
stops a couple times to vomit,
Yes.
and you're
Drunk.
sitting
Okay,
there going,
Let's
He
talk
never
about that.
actually
Let's talk about
vomits.
that. Yeah, he just retches.
wretches.
Is he retching because of the alcohol, or because he realized what he is, or what is that? Like, is that? Of course, maybe that's the point of.
I don't have a lot of faith that he's actually feeling that bad.
Yeah.
so I read that they kind of based that off a documentary about what's it called? The Killing
Killing Field.
Floor? Killing
Oh.
I don't remember. But there's some horrible murderer guy who in that documentary you do see throw up at a point where he sort of realizes, or it sort of strikes him all the atrocities he's portrayed.
Is he
Or,
German, or is it a different situation?
No.
So it's probably
different.
probably killing
Um,
probably the Killing Field.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was. That sounds right. I honestly can't remember. Apologies, everyone.
It's in yeah. That's
But
in Cambodia.
yeah, they sort of based it. Oh, the act of killing.
Oh.
And it's Indonesia.
Whoa. Okay.
Where one of the architects of that genocide attempts to vomit, but
Has
can't.
a moment of
Jeez.
But yes,
which
I
you
think
rarely
the
get.
timing of it, the fact that he had been drinking, like there's a lot with this movie where they're like, what are we, what is this?
Yeah.
Because if they timed it, if we went to Auschwitz, oh, sorry, I jumped ahead again. Who wants to explain what happens after he dry heaves?
Well, yeah. Well,
Looks down the
build it
hallway
out.
and
he goes
then-
down the hallway, dry heaves again, and then he comes down the hallway and he looks at the camera. He looks directly at us, and all of a sudden, the next thing we know, we're at Auschwitz,
They're
modern
getting ready
day,
to open the tour for the day,
and
cleaning
they're
up the museum.
vacuuming, and you see the shoes, you see the crutches, you see the
Cases.
suitcases. The shoes was the hardest. It was the craziest to me.
Yeah, it's brutal.
That was. Yeah.
But yeah, if we saw that first, and then he retched, you would be like, it's about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but it
But
doesn't
because he
feel
retched
like
right
that.
before
Because they
that,
Exactly
timed it
right.
differently. Yeah.
it's like, well, was it about that?
Yeah.
Was
No,
it
it could
not?
be. Yeah.
Yeah, which is probably very intentional.
Yeah.
You're not
And
supposed
even
to
that,
know
like-
exactly why.
Yeah.
What a cool choice to go. Cool and horrifying, right? Like to go to real Auschwitz. And then again, though, like, we're seeing this imagery with people just doing their jobs in the foreground of it.
Oh.
Like people just sweeping and
How
cleaning windows.
crazy was it the moment they opened the furnace room and they walk
the gas
in?
chamber.
Yeah, the gas chamber. They walk in to sweep it, and that was so surreal. I couldn't. I was like, "You're the person who sweeps this up every day." That is the craziest.
Kind of a punishing, emotional job, I would think.
And
But also, you know,
but also, you're
reminding people what you've done.
you're upkeeping something that hopefully brings life to humanity too. So you never
Yes.
question why you do what you
Reminder.
do. Yeah, exactly right. So you never question your purpose. But
Yeah.
I was like, what if she shut the door? Like the door shut. Like even like being in that room with a door shut. Like all of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, all of it. I've never been to Germany, so I obviously haven't been, or Poland. I mean, but I've never been to Auschwitz. But
No, but I've gone to like places, Alcatraz.
Yes.
And they let you like go in the cells, and you're like, I am a little unsettled just being kind of on the side of the bars.
Yeah.
and that's like,
And like people
Not
weren't
even-
gassed there, and
No.
it. Yeah, I can't imagine.
I have been to.
Well,
like,
and the people in Alcatraz did something to get put into Alcatraz, whereas the
yeah,
people in Auschwitz didn't really.
Pat, we're about
Like
to go.
Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah, we're.
But everybody here
I'm about
calls
to-
me Vicky.
Shoot, this is a terrible transition.
Machine
We're about
Gun
to
I'm
go.
Kelly
so
had
sorry.
This is a
Well,
terrible
be call in
transition.
the prison system. I won't do the
So
whole line, but I know it.
the only thing closest that I've been to, of course, is I was in Cambodia and I went to the school where Pol Pot had just, how like a whole generation is gone in Cambodia, and then I went to the killing fields, the same thing, and they just have skulls, and so there is this reverence, but it's so hard because unfortunately, in Western culture, we have so much Nazi like movies, shows. It's a new Nazi movie every week, and the killing fields. Like we didn't even touch it. We didn't even know about it until like later, after it already started happening, and so it's this very real. There's the concept of what was going on there, and it was so efficient. In Germany too, that was on a large scale of a
Not only were they doing these horrific things, but they were doing it very well with great efficiency,
and they wrote about it
and bragged about it.
And Haas, I think the thing he talked about was he wanted to do a really good job.
Yeah,
right. He was committed to the cause, but he also just was like, I want people to think I'm doing a good job. And like, again, because of what he's putting an effort toward, that's the most horrific thing you could say about trying to exterminate a people.
Yeah.
But in the context of like a job and just ignoring all that, you're like, well, yeah, people want to do a good job.
Yeah.
And that's normally applauded.
Yeah. I didn't realize in the movie. I realized that the people gardening were prisoners. There was a couple of guys, pushing a wheelbarrow around. But what I didn't realize was the woman that was in his office. I thought she was a prostitute, but she was apparently a prisoner.
Oh yeah,
And for some reason during the movie, I didn't realize because I think she looked like she was into it, maybe.
Totally. Yeah, she didn't look totally prisonered.
But she
No.
did,
Well, I think, but there was also help in the house. Weren't all prisoners, right? They
No,
were
I think
locals.
just the couple people in the garden that were in the background, never actually addressing anybody, just in and out.
So it's a little confusing who was what. But there was clearly still this massive power imbalance, right? Like,
Oh,
Yeah.
and they
That
didn't
even gets
talk
into-
to him.
yeah.
The-
And when they did,
the
she's like, my
interaction.
husband could spread your ashes over. you
Yeah,
know,
when she got
fields or
mad,
whatever.
when she figured it all out, she was yeah. Yeah.
because her kids had dripped on the floor or whatever.
But
Was
she
it
was-
that one? I forget.
It was after her and her husband just had a fight, and everyone saw.
Oh, it was after the mom
Yes.
left.
And so she was,
She was like-
and she's like, "Why'd you bring this up? Why'd you?" Yeah. So then it was clearly just lashing out because she was hurt by her mom, but which
But,
is
that was one of those like the Queen of Auschwitz sure is
yeah. She
getting
calls
that name.
they call her themselves. She's like, "Oh, you're being called the Queen of Auschwitz," and they say it in a joking manner, which is just so much. Ugh.
Really, it was interesting how sickening it all was, despite not showing
Inside.
anything.
I-
right?
I-
but again,
I felt like
we
it
have all
made it
these
more upsetting
stuff to pull from.
because you're looking at these people living their lives, pretending like the gravity
Oh.
of the situation is not what it is.
I have a hot take,
and I think
guys.
it's just so much more upsetting
Yeah.
not being in there. You know, you're not watching
and that-
Schindler's List. You're watching.
That's my hot take.
felt like
this
they're-
is more impactful than Schindler's
I think
List.
so.
Would you not say?
unseen is
would
more
you
disturbing.
not say this is more troubling than Schindler's List? And that is a messed up thing to say because Schindler's List is beautifully, and it's the opposite. You have the hero who's saving people, but you see the atrocities. But this one, you don't see any atrocity,
Yeah.
but you feel it so much more.
You know what's happening. You can hear some of it, and you see these people. I think it just really put some gravity to how awful the Nazis were. How they.
Yeah.
Because in Schindler's List, they're separate. They're away. I mean, there's some
Yeah.
points where, like, at the end where he's like, you know, you could be a human and just leave, or you could kill us all like you're told to. Like, there's some moments where they humanize, and he's obviously German, and they have, like, the parties and stuff. But this is so... You're only with the Germans. Mm-hmm. And
Well,
then...
and I think to
yeah.
me, the fact that they're trying to build this idyllic life 5 feet from the wall,
Yes.
or literally at the wall,
Literally
Yeah.
at the wall.
it's kind
Such a
of
good
more
picture.
offensive.
Yeah,
right?
talking,
Like,
So much
talking
better.
about what you're gonna plant in front of the wall to have it climb
yeah,
up
like,
and hide it.
Why isn't there more space even where you could kind of pretend you don't know what's happening?
Yeah, why is
Like,
that
nope,
house
this
that
is fine.
close? He just opens a short
is all
little
great.
gate and goes back over to his job.
Yeah, why wouldn't it be
So
a
you go ride his
mile away?
horse around?
They had cars and motorcycles. Why did they live right next to the wall?
When he loved riding his horse, he rode his horse 20 feet to get to work. Like, what was that all about?
Yeah.
So many things.
Who he loved the most, the character he loved the most in the movie.
Yeah,
was his
he
horse.
definitely
I'm really
was,
gonna miss you, horse.
was the most.
beauty.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I think what's interesting, and again, I don't, I think sadly the world talks less and less about Nazis, like what Nazis did during World War II, because now we're confronted by modern Nazis
Yeah.
who are somehow able to like distance themselves from that.
Well, it's also
That
just,
I'd be curious
yeah,
if people watch this. I'd be curious if people watch this. What would they get out of it? Because we have Schindler's List
Yeah,
in the back of our heads.
Yeah.
We have Saving Private Ryan. We
Yep.
have Band of Brothers. We have
all Spielberg.
the Boy in the
we have
Striped
swing
Pajamas.
kids. We've got
Yeah,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
we have all these other cultural things we grew up on.
Well, and I think it's been since
honestly,
we
even
were
Indiana
that age.
Jones.
Yes.
Nazis are just bad.
Because
say,
it's
you
been
got-
since
you gotta
the
bring up Indiana
90s where we got there was like a big bombardment of those movies,
You guys
and then we're
l-
having the
you all
just-
mentioned Spielberg. Every single movie you guys mentioned was Spielberg, by the way. Every
Was Swing
single,
Kids?
Boy in the
except for Swing Kids, except
Boy
for
in
Swing
the-
Kids, but
Boy
that
in the
doesn't really
Striped
count.
Pajamas, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like this is no offense to Spielberg. You're an okay director, I hear, but that's who shaped our concept of Nazis as just kind of these one-sided bad people.
Oh, can I give you a fun fact?
Ooh, are we going there already?
Because Spielberg is part of it.
Get out of here.
He said this is the best Nazi movie made since mine.
Since his? Oh, that's messed up.
Yeah.
So he didn't say it's better than mine.
I
No.
mean,
Oh, okay.
No, he said
Okay.
since.
Hey, Steven, he might have made a better one, buddy. I hate to tell you this, man.
but again, I
But
think
different. It's just different.
Well, and we needed Schindler's List. We still needed
Yes.
Schindler's List. Because when Schindler's List came out, it's the first time it was that seen. We've never seen it in that graphic way. We've never seen Saving Private Ryan in that graphic way, and in a way that appealed to the masses. So I got to give Spielberg his credit. No, that's still amazing. But he also
we
is
are-
responsible for the freaking Indiana Jones Nazis, which is the problem.
Which
'Cause-
made
Well,
them kind of funny.
I don't think that is
and-
the problem. I think but I think they are unequivocally bad. There's not like Nazis
They are the bad
There's
guys.
never like
Yeah.
There's never like, well, but the Nazis have a point. Even the bad guys working with the Nazis are like,
Yeah.
I'm using them to get what I want.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they're horrible. We
But
both
in
agree
the
they're horrible.
Indiana Jones movies, we're not discussing what they're doing to the Jews. We're discussing
No.
that they're trying to get their hands on artifacts.
They're
Yeah, and they're burning books.
and they're a
Yeah.
cartoon evil henchman. That's what they are. They're
Yeah.
a cartoon evil.
You know they're
henchman.
evil, but you don't know from watching
Yes.
Indiana Jones what level
Yeah.
this is.
Yeah. So that's my
But
only problem with Indiana
because of-
Jones with that. Yeah.
Sure, but I mean, kids are just like, yeah, Nazis are bad guys. Right?
It's
Like,
true. That's true. I'll give you
Axis
that.
and allies,
It's a
man.
very clear lesson. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think if we don't have Schindler's List and we don't have some of these other things, we can't imagine as clearly or even exaggerate as much what is happening behind the wall. Right?
Right.
Just gunfire, just screams. You're like, that doesn't sound good. But we have in
That's
our brains
true.
Yeah,
With-
because
we
of
know.
how we grew up.
This movie makes more sense with those movies. I
Yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with
And
that.
documentaries, of course. Like that's where I wonder if people,
Diary of Anne Frank.
younger people,
Mm.
Diary of Anne Frank, like if younger people who I don't think were as brought up on some of those influences, what do they think of this movie?
Well,
You
they
know?
did have Tarantino and Brad Pitt doing
Yeah.
freaking
Inglourious.
Inglourious Bastards, and they did
Yes.
have, and there is this concept, and even like the horror Nazi zombie, like there's a whole
Yeah,
genre.
Nazi
Like,
zombies.
so there is this like Nazis are
Dead
bad
Snow.
guys, and yes, and so there's a lot of things that's modern, that's accessible, and of course, as we know, now you have access to everything. You just have to figure out what you actually want to watch.
But I
which
do
is-
really feel like that is more our generation and
Yeah.
older.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't
because
know that relates as well.
no, I don't think it does.
You
And I
know,
think the
I
generation in front of us,
Like
or
talking
before
about
us
the young
too,
generation, like I know what they're talking about.
lived in the time
Yeah.
of, or very shortly after World
Oh my
War
gosh.
II. So we're the
Yes.
first ones that got the replay.
Yeah.
We're the first
Yep.
ones that were like reintroduced to how awful this war was and all these things and atrocities, and so now it's the grand or great grandchildren or great great grandchildren of World War II now that are around now and don't have firsthand experience or the first revival of this. You know, how many World
Oh.
War II movies were there in the 40s and 50s? You know, tons.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what the movies were about.
Yeah, but they definitely didn't go like safe. They didn't go the depth.
But it was all
Yeah.
on the American side. You weren't necessarily in Europe. You certainly weren't in Germany.
This is what I love about this movie that I feel few movies ever have done since All Quiet on the Western Front. What made All Quiet on the Western Front brilliant is that you felt connection to the World War I Germans, and they were the bad guys, and they were cartoonized as the bad guys, and then that made it feel like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is now the World War II Germans are more evil because they're killing Jews and they're doing the World War I. It's like all the cousins got into a war when they killed a few million people.
Yeah.
That was the
Well,
whole
and
reason.
they had the
Even then it felt-
means and the knowledge
Right.
and the
So this to me was that movie for now. It was the best way to feel what it felt to be, because I never could figure out in my brain, how could you be a Nazi and live a normal life?
I
and
still don't understand.
Well, at least we have a picture, though.
You
at least
have a
you
picture
have
of it.
picture.
You know that people were doing that.
Yes, and so this is the closest thing I've seen.
Suspending their disbelief about what was happening around them.
Exactly right. Like
Compartmentalization.
Yep, and this
rationalization.
is amazing job of that.
Well,
amazing.
and it's also like an example of this is the only radio you hear. This is the only message you're getting. It's like you're in China and you're not getting to watch certain things and you're only allowed to be introduced to this stuff. And I think, the hope, I mean, back then it was a little easier because you only had radio. There wasn't, the internet and other ways to get information. So it was much easier to brainwash people.
Or something.
Yeah, it was much easier to brainwash people.
I think it's easier now. I'm not even joking.
Well, yeah,
but not
to
be a complete Nazi.
I don't know. See that's the point of this movie.
Well, not here.
That's
that's true. We're not. They weren't there.
I
they
literally think the best part about this movie.
Quite a few Nazis in the United States right now.
Well, yes, they say there's. I think they like to pretend there's more of them than there is, but that's another story altogether. They would
more
like
than
to
zero.
Yes, more than zero, which is
ridiculous.
which is far too much. I think that's the best part about this movie is it feels like it could happen to any country, and that's what's brilliant about this movie because Germany was supposed to be like we were almost a German-speaking country rather than an English-speaking country, and let's just be real, England's no saint. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but Germany going this far bad because they were so devastated by World War I is so surprising to Western cultures that they haven't been able to deal with it. Frankly, they still kind of haven't been able to deal with the fact that this Western, arguably the best scientific, minds in Europe, the most best cars in Europe, became evil, and people still couldn't wrap their brains around it, and I think still can't, frankly.
Yeah.
And so this movie...
I think, the collaboration of so many minds that were so smart and so good at what they did... I'm sure people were like, well, this is obviously the right way. These are the smartest people.
Which, this is funny, because then this goes into Oppenheimer, because all those guys are like,
I'm
out. This is going to go right into Oppenheimer.
A pretty good companion.
It really is.
Movie. Right.
Like, it really is.
And then
watch
you get
Zone
all
of
the...
Interest first, then watch Oppenheimer.
And then you get all the German filmmakers who fled and came to Hollywood.
Exactly right.
Made good movies, too.
And our boy, the guy who did M, too, and actors as well.
Yeah.
So it really is this interesting thing. People knew bad stuff was coming, but the people who stayed are the most mind-blowing. And so that's what I loved about this. This is a family who... And, by the way, we haven't talked about this. Her socioeconomic position before the war probably wasn't good.
No, they talked about...
Yeah, you definitely get... Yeah, you get the idea that she came from not a lot.
Not a place of means.
Her mom worked... at a Jewish lady's house, right? Like that was that one comment.
Yes.
Like, I wonder if Mrs. Whatever
love
is
that
over
brought
there.
that
she was
into
a
that.
Jewess, is what they said.
Yes, and it was so great because this was like her biggest break. This was her break to make it have a pool, which is unheard of having a pool.
Yeah.
Shoot in Oregon now.
And trying on that fur in front of the mirror upstairs.
It makes so much more sense because now she feels entitled, and now this is who she is. She's new money. She's this new rising star in the society that happens to be evil. But you know what? Like she has always been not been crapped on by the high society. So.
The horrifying thing about movies like this to me are, one, it puts you in a position to ask yourself, well, what would I have done if my entire country basically has come to a consensus, more or less, that a group of people are less than, which again our country has done plenty of times, plenty of different ways.
We pick a new race every 50 years. Baby.
And dabbled in genocide for sure.
you know,
You just
not-
kind of go
not, you
like,
know.
what would you
Detention
Oh yeah,
do
we
if
definitely
you're
did.
not
I just realized that.
you're not the one being pursued? Do you stick around? And if you stick around, how do you function in that society? And what do you agree to? And it becomes this really, scarily like, oh crap, I could just be a part of this machine.
Well, and especially when
that-
you get rewarded more often than
It's
not for
gross.
being part of that machine, it's
Mm-hmm.
a harder life if you choose not to and stick around, or if you're even
Potentially
quiet.
a life-ending
Yeah.
decision, right?
This is the
Like,
most
you have to get out of the country. You have to abandon your entire life to get out.
yeah.
And then who knows
And if you
what
try
happens,
and
right?
help people while you stay, that's really scary too.
Yeah.
This is the most powerful
you kind of
movie.
have to dive in.
I have not felt this moved about what actually happened to Germans since I read the Bonhoeffer book about. Bonhoeffer's a pastor who famously went against the Nazi regime and was in a scheme to kill Hitler and all these things. But this is the most feeling like I'm on the insider view of what it was like to be a Nazi of any movie I've ever experienced. Other than books I've read, there's nothing that gets you feeling like, oh my gosh, what was it like for the actual emotions of being in a Nazi family and how you got to that point? Because I would argue she probably didn't have the means to leave even if she could have before the war.
No.
Well,
Right?
and just choosing to stay. I mean, yes, your children are settled, and you have a pretty
Yeah.
to
stay in
yard.
Auschwitz, you're exactly right.
But-
That's
The fact
crazy.
that she could have transferred
Yeah,
somewhere away.
Yeah, you go to fabulous parties and have a
But
nanny
she's so
too. You
proud
could have
of her
done that.
freaking house and her
Yeah.
yard and her flowers and it's just sickening, which is beautiful,
Didn't
which
look
is
at all like
which
this.
is so good. Like I love that. Like thinking through what is the prettiness, what would give you what would it make us give up our home? What atrocity that we know about? Like if the old thing. There's so many
I'm
things in
thinking
the modern world.
animal testing facility,
And I'm thinking slave labor in China. Oh, I should be careful.
you're next to a sweatshop.
No,
You're
not a
next to-
sweatshop. The Hueys are actually were put in prison. It's not a sweatshop. Sweatshops
No,
are
I mean, but
freaking-
as another example, you're.
Oh
next,
yeah, sure.
You know,
Sorry, I'm about
nothing could have been as bad as that, to choose to stay. I think.
Yeah. Again, this movie is really wonderful in that way that it confronts us with all these thoughts.
I'm so glad he turned the novel into a more accurate
Me too.
version
Me
of
too.
what happened. I'm
It would
so
have had
glad he did all the research.
no
and
feet if
that
it
they
didn't have
chose
it.
to leave out the majority
Yeah.
of the score. I'm so glad that there's just so many things that I am impressed that he chose to use. And also
Yes.
this being, this is his first foreign language film. This
Yeah.
is his first
He's
non-English.
He's a Brit, by the way, guys. He's not
Yeah.
American, but he is a Brit, so
Yeah.
he doesn't actually speak German.
Yeah, and this is technically a UK submission, but the fact that
No, for reals.
I love all of the choices that he made.
I don't love them, but I think they're effective.
Well, he didn't make those
Yeah.
choices.
I'm appreciative.
I'm
of all
appreciative of them, yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate how he did
cinematic
this.
choices.
Yeah.
Okay. Guys.
Should we lighten it up with some fun facts?
Oh, yeah.
Fun
These
facts?
fun
Yeah,
facts are
Can we
amazing.
start with a dog?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know about this.
This is
That's the
Sandra
number one fun
Hüller's
fact.
dog. It's
No,
her
it's
own
not.
dog in
That's
the movie.
great.
Actual dog running around.
That's
Can I
so
be
cool.
more delighted to have another fun pet fact?
That's two fun not in a row. Last week was American Fiction, but yeah, that's great. Send a hula and dogs.
I mean,
Her and dogs, and this is her own
that's
dog.
great. Cool.
I don't think
Second
there's
second
anything
best dog of the year.
That was the highlight.
Second
yeah,
best dog of the year.
second best.
topping that.
That dog wasn't a really good actor,
Yeah,
but
the first dog had
No,
like,
but it felt real to me. And
Yeah.
the dog
was-
just running around barking at
well,
stuff.
and he was very
eating
loyal to
off
her.
tables and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was really loyal to her, so in reality, too, you're like, okay, I can see how that was her
that's
dog.
great. Oh, that's great. What else you guys got?
You're next, Pat.
Well, I mean, again, that's the best fun fact. I think Mariah touched on some of them. That the fact that the girl story is based off a real person,
That's
Alexandria.
amazing. I had no idea when I watched that.
And again, like her dress, her bike.
That's so
For that
incredible.
And
role.
she
Yeah.
really
Is-
found the music that was left. Like
Yeah.
that really
Yeah.
that was in the novel. That
The other fun fact is that this house still exists.
yeah.
The actual real house
It was
still
just owner
exists.
occupied, and they let him come in and do that, right?
Well, no, so they didn't actually
Or they
shoot in the
redid the house.
original house, but because they wanted it to look new. So the only reason why they didn't shoot in the original house is because they wanted to make it look like it was a fresh, new, perfectly done up house. But they had the original house to look at, and then get
Sure.
it all correct. And they
Yeah.
had pictures of the pool. Like the attention to detail in this film is bar none. It is incredible.
And I think Mariah, you mentioned it, like how early they planted the garden, so it
Yeah.
was a real garden. Like
They
you
planted
can
it-
imagine they just
They planted it in
shoved
like
everything in the ground a week before filming.
2021, so that when they filmed in 2023,
Wow.
it was already like looking good.
That's so
This is why Jonathan
cool.
Glazer takes a long time to make a movie, because he's
Right.
growing
Well, and
a
this-
garden naturally.
Right?
Yeah, and the sound guy had like 600 pages of documentation of sounds that they had recorded, and
Well, and then
love
I
it.
think they did reshoots a year later in winter, so it looked like winter in the garden.
Yeah.
Like
That's great.
it's like what? The other thing which we touched on, the hidden cameras and mics, but my fact is that there was up to like 10 cameras and 30 microphones
yeah.
to help capture
Which totally makes
all
sense.
that, which again led to 800 hours
The microphone thing,
Pre-edit.
to edit.
Yeah.
as a videographer, the thing that stresses me out is the sound. I'm terrified of how
Well,
they got
it's
good
got
sound.
30.
I'm almost surprised they just didn't do all like lav mics or something and hit them in their outfit, because that would be the way I would have done it. But like
Yeah, I could have.
they could have done that too.
Although
Who
they were
knows?
shirtless at times.
Yeah, a little harder. Not impossible.
Yeah. I think those are my fun facts to really lighten up.
Oh
the
my
end of this
gosh.
podcast. This
Okay,
real
well,
Yeah.
now comes the hard part, which is the on-the-spot review. Ooh.
our favorite part.
Our
favorite
least
segment.
favorite part, but it's also kind of the best part because we actually have to think through all we just talked about. And as this is for me, guys, because I am a verbal processor, which means I cannot bring this all out until I've talked with two other people, hence the podcast. So I'll go first.
Okay.
Great.
First is the word.
This is the best movie of the year. There's never been a
Oh.
more poignant, powerful, self-reflecting, and powerful movie in 2024. 2023. Boom. There we go.
Wow.
Didn't see that coming, did you?
That's the hot take.
That's what I was saying. I had a hot take, but I was going to wait till my review. Because to me,
I would be really cool with
this-
this being a big upset
this
and winning.
is the most.
I mean, it could.
This is the most powerful movie.
But I think because it's up for foreign film too, I think it will.
Yeah, I think
take that
they'll
for
give,
sure.
They don't give them all this, and it's not big enough. I think Oppenheimer will probably still win, but I think this is the most important movie of the year, if not the best.
It's half as long as Oppenheimer.
yeah.
I
Again,
appreciated the length.
and they have more material,
Yeah.
and they still made it half as long. So
Yeah.
Editing
take
is
that.
possible.
So the editor is the true hero. So the editor of this movie is the best person in cinema of 2023.
I would
That's
imagine that
editing.
guy is still like decompressing.
Oh,
from
he's
all the
stressed. He's so stressed right now.
He just was deleting entire hard drives.
He's just so happy he's done with it.
Yeah, like nope. We lost that. We
Yep.
lost 200 hours. Still gotta make a movie.
Whoops.
So guys, I came in heavy. So good luck. Good luck now with your guys' on the spot reviews. Who's ready?
Zone of Interest is a uncomfortably true to life depiction of a Nazi family Jeez. Blah, blah, blah. Through the 21st century lens. Literally.
Oh,
Super good.
I like that.
Super good.
Yeah, I think the 20 because the
Super dark. Super.
it helps process the Nazi family dynamics through a 21st century lens.
And to steal from American fiction, it was so necessary. This is so
necessary. That's good. That's good. All right, Pat.
I don't know. I fudged that.
The 21st century. I mean, really, it is. It's to make it. It's making the sins of our fathers, if you're German, sorry, but the sins of our fathers more poignant to a 21st century observer in a way I've never seen before. I'm totally redoing yours. I apologize.
I didn't come up with 21st century
That's what
lens. I
editors are
stole
for.
it from something.
Oh, well,
I don't remember where though.
But I
So
do
I
like
feel like I came up with
Yeah,
it.
it's yours.
2023's zone of interest is a powerful, brutal reminder of what happens to a society that tiptoes into fascism
Tiptoe.
in order to wear fancy coats and jewelry.
From Canada with a K.
Oh.
So watch it to remind yourself that this could be you
Yeah.
if you don't.
Not be a.
If you
Something.
didn't, if you didn't know
Something,
how
something.
gross the Nazis were, now you do.
Also, Nazis are bad.
So bad.
I-
There's not a good take on a Nazi.
New Nazis, old Nazis.
I actually
They're all
I
bad.
have a take where there's a Nazi who's not bad. You want it?
Go on.
Is his name Nazi?
No, but he was a German Nazi who was in Nanjing or Nanking during the rape of Nanking. And so when the Japanese came and just slaughtered hundreds of thousands of people, the German Nazi guy stood up and saved hundreds of people by saying,
You could also argue all the light we cannot see.
right.
Guy from that one.
Yeah. So again, this
So,
is but
sure,
so
there's aberrations of a Nazi here
Nope.
or there.
but here's the thing. But the Nazi
He wasn't an
Nazis.
invested
the
member
concept
of the party.
what the Nazis believed is evil is what
Yes.
people need to
Yes,
stick with.
the organization,
People-
the beliefs,
Yes, people within it. I think there was people.
the
who-
acts.
I'm sure there's really nice KKK members out there.
I
Right?
know. I
Oh,
probably make
yeah.
a lovely bun
The
cake.
friendliest racists you'll ever find.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's like that
Yeah,
one Community episode. I didn't even see that coming. He's a racist. I didn't know that.
But like, if you viewer, listener, whoever you are out there, if you were at all Nazi curious,
Yeah.
I hope if you're taking one thing away from this,
Yeah.
is that they
If you
suck.
just came home from a meeting and you're on the fence,
You're like, I like a shaved head.
can we just tell you?
They're fancy dressers.
Yeah.
You know?
He really
Like,
pulls off a
cool
white
iconography.
pantsuit.
The skull and crossbones are really hip right now with that whole liquid death. I
And
tell you
spoiler
what.
alert, the Empire, the First Order, are Nazis.
Yeah. Spoiler. That is a hot take.
That's not a hot take at all.
That's
I had
the
no
whole thing.
idea.
Yeah, weird.
You wonder why in your lizard brain you're like, I think these are the bad guys.
But they're wearing gray,
'cause
Pat. They
It's
didn't have a
'cause they're
swastika.
Nazis.
They didn't have a swastika.
It's so
They're wearing
funny.
a gray.
So,
Every
there you go.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's great. How to be a movie snob is anti-Nazi.
We got
There
a
you
lot
go.
of breaking news here
breaking
tonight,
news.
guys.
Breaking news. We're anti-Nazi. Okay, guys.
Staunchly anti-Nazi.
What?
Yeah. If there's anybody looking to sponsor us, please, no thanks, Nazis. We're going to turn you down. We prefer to say unsullied. Thank
That's
you very
right.
much.
What does this win? What does this not win? What should this win?
Best picture
I mean, foreign.
for
Yeah.
sure.
foreign film. For
Over
sure.
Anatomy of a Fall.
I think best director maybe,
That would be dope, but there's no way he's beating Chris
or
Nolan.
screenplay.
Adapted screenplay. That would be hilarious. If they would adapt a screenplay, that is the biggest joke. 'Cause
It would
it's
be
just-
super cool if sound won.
Oh, the sound would win. The sound is the sound is a whole character. The sound is a
Yeah.
whole character in this movie.
Sound, I would be happy
I would
with.
I would be very happy with sound because of how much it's a whole movie. The sound is a whole movie to itself.
I think
You know what's interesting, even with the screenplay stuff, to me, the dialogue. I don't know. It's like this movie is more than the screenplay. You know, I think the fact
Yeah.
that Jonathan Glazer, wrote and directed. Again, so did Greta, and so did Christopher Nolan. All these people do it. But like, to me, it wasn't like the dialogue specifically was the standout. It was,
the direction.
I don't know. So that to me would be kind of weird if it did win that, because
Yeah.
it's not about really what was said.
Yeah.
It's about what was heard. Like it's not. I don't know. So that'd be kind of weird. To me.
Man,
I
give
think
give
sound and
Glazer a
foreign
freaking
film-
Oscar, man.
He's
I
got to
would-
win something.
I think it would be cool if he got director,
Oh.
but sound and foreign film, yeah.
If Martin Scorsese beats him out, I'll be so upset. I'll be so bummed.
I don't think he will.
I think Christopher Nolan's gonna win it. but
I
that's
think
another
Lily's
story.
going to be the only one that wins anything on that movie.
That's
I
probably true.
would love it to win the award it's not nominated for. which is
Cinematography?
Cinematography.
It's hard to go back to
You know, I seen some of the other. I do like El Condre's cinematography.
Yeah.
that, which
I know,
we
that's
got
the
to
one I
watch
haven't seen
before
of
the
those.
Oscars.
It's
Yeah.
pretty good. Nothing.
It's all
Okay,
black and white, yeah.
here's a question I haven't asked yet because we've now gone through the top, the 10 movies that have been nominated for Best Picture. Do any of these movies replace the movies you guys have on your top 10 lists?
Where's our top 10 list?
Oh, I don't even have it out.
Oh, gee. Yeah,
I
that's.
don't even remember.
Yeah, we
okay.
don't even
We
know.
want we can
You're
cut
going to
this
have to be
part.
I don't-
prepared.
I am
I'm gonna
prepared,
say I
actually. Hold
don't
on.
think so, but
Okay.
I loved the spread of movies.
I
Like-
loved that all. I think all 10 brought something. There
Yeah,
was
they're
none of
super
them.
diverse.
There was none of them that I thought this is rubbish. It should not be nominated. I mean, yeah, they're pretty great.
Yeah.
Okay, good job.
Good
Oh
job.
boy.
Which one's mine?
All right.
I picked that one today.
All right. We may have to cut this because it's getting ridiculous right now. But Mariah, yours are Shawshank, Godfather, Cool Hand Luke, Lord of the Rings, Quiet Man, South Pacific, Wizard of Oz, Star Wars. Almost got that there. That looks like Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn. What movie is that?
Philadelphia
one?
Story.
Philadelphia Story, and then Pan's Labyrinth. Pat, yours are Moneyball. I just want to start with that just to make you look like less of a snob. The Sting.
These are my top 10. All right?
2001
So it's not,
Space
I don't care what
Odyssey.
you have to say.
Arrival, Halloween, which is pretty awesome.
You like Arrival,
Royal
Pat?
Tenenbaums, Amelie, God's Park, Real Window, and Jurassic Park.
I don't think I would replace any of my top 10.
I'm going to say no also.
Jeez, I'm going to redo my whole freaking list. Who cares about that?
I feel like there's a mood for each top 10
there really
list.
is.
Like today, do you stand by it?
Right, 100%. Like, because mine's my Python, Metropolis, Tree of Life, Tokyo Story, Spirited Away, Hero, Kane, Spinal Tap, Casablanca, and Princess Bride. It might take Tree of Life's spot, the movie we just watched tonight, just because it's so poignant. But I don't know. That'd be up in the air for like what I think about my life and life in general. So it's a personal question, I guess.
No, I already have a movie with Nazis.
You do.
Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth.
The bad guys are
Fascists.
there.
Yeah. Well,
I
guys,
think we did it.
I think we did.
This is a long one.
Yeah, we
Longer
have to
than
jump
the
that
movie.
out. For reals, 1 hour,
Tune
3
in for
minutes.
the Oscar special, guys.
So,
However we decide to do it.
yeah. let's
Hey,
wrap.
you guys are welcome to come to our house and watch the Oscars.
Oh,
We'll be around.
we're formals.
Yeah, as long as you have a black tie affair only. Guys,
I'll find a tie.
folks, thanks for listening to this Oscar season specials. This has been a real treat. This is the first year I've ever watched every Best Picture nomination.
Same, for sure.
And been ready for the Oscars. So this
Yeah.
is kind of a big step
I feel
for
like
me.
we all get a little slow clap.
Yeah, there we go. There we
Good
go.
job.
There we go. I've
And you at home,
yeah.
give yourself a clap if you've
there's-
been following along.
Pat yourself on the back.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to watch the Oscars because I have opinions about like almost every single movie that's been nominated now. I don't know how people do it before award season because that's crazy talk. They must just be on the Hollywood Insiders,
Yeah.
which maybe we will
Yeah,
be soon.
they get screeners.
I'm
Yeah.
sure next year we'll be getting the.
I think so. After this
Ahead of
goes live,
times.
people will be, oh, you know what the best reviewers are on the interweb?
Yeah.
Give us those screeners.
Those guys that have 0 credentials.
And a whole lot of flair. Hey. So, yeah, this has been great. I'm excited. Who do you want to win Best Picture? Go. I've already said mine.
What,
It's this
want
one.
to win?
Who do you want to win? Who cares about what
I feel
is
like
gonna
Zone
win?
of Interest deserves all of that, but
But who
it's
do you
not
want
going
to
to be
win?
best. Who do I want?
Yeah, because I don't care about like what's going to win. We probably know.
I want Poor Things, probably.
That's a good one. Yeah.
That's where my gut was leaning on what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's like I like the rewarding the weirdness.
Yeah.
Um,
That's great.
Yeah. What?
but I
That's,
don't know.
yeah.
Okay, so
we need to write them down.
for my
Oscar
feelings,
night.
I would love if this one, if Past Lives won, I would be stoked.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
If the Holdovers won, I'd be stoked. I don't think it should, but would I be
No.
happy
No.
for it? It's like
Best Christmas
pretty
movie
crazy.
of
I
the
would
year.
literally because it's kind of like a Cinderella story. I'm like, oh yeah, freaking Villanova won the national championship this year. That's how I'd feel about it. Like it's like they're ranked like number 7, but they somehow win, or number 13, but they somehow make it to the dance. Like yeah, that's great. So that's kind of how I feel. I would if Barbie shouldn't win. Was Barbie even nominated? Yeah,
For
Barbie
Best
was nominated
Picture.
for Best Picture.
Only Best Actor, though.
Oppenheimer, I'm resigned. If they win it, that's fine. There's a lot of cool things
Yeah,
about Oppenheimer.
it's a great.
It's a great movie. It's a
long
great
It's
long
very
movie.
good and long.
I will be upset if Killers of Flower Moon wins because I'm
Yes.
just so annoyed with it because I think the story is great. And I'm glad you got it out there, but I just really wish you would have edited it a little cleaner and tighter and put it together in a way that was more enjoyable. And yeah, other than that, Anatomy of a Fall, I'll be like, meh, that's fine. I guess that's fine, but I didn't really.
Best Dog.
Best
Actor.
dog, yeah, best dog.
Best dog.
Yeah, so this is maybe the one I want to win the most because it's like the most like wow, this changes things. American Fiction, if they win it, I'd be like, holy crap, how did you win that for $10 million? You just won an Oscar for $10
I mean,
Yeah.
that would
million.
be
So
fun.
Biggest underdog.
that would literally
Yeah.
be
They
like,
would
hey,
have a good time winning.
yeah, you were a 12 seed and you somehow won it all. I don't know how that happened. So
Yeah.
that doesn't even make sense.
Somebody found one of Pat's VHS tapes from the over-the-shoulder video camera of our childhood and said, "This is a
This is
winning
it."
movie."
Winner.
I
This
love
budget-
American Fiction though. Okay, what was the most watchable of all the movies?
Or rewatchable.
Rewatchable.
Barbie.
Barbie,
Barbie.
Fiction, and Holdovers.
Yeah.
I'd watch Past
Yeah.
Lives again.
I'd watch Past
I'd
Lives
watch
again.
Past Lives again. That
I
was
think
fun.
same. It wasn't. It didn't like totally ruin you. You know.
Yeah, no, Past Lives. Oh, it's
Touched on
cathartic.
ruining you.
Past Lives
Yeah.
was like this cathartic, like
For
hey,
some more than others.
Whoa, you shut your face, all right? Some of us had a lot of things in common with that movie.
And I'll zoom.
Oh my gosh.
all
Well,
the
guys, anything else you want to add before we sign off and get ready for it?
Oh, good job, everybody, for showing up
That's
for
right.
this Oscar season.
Next week
Can't
is
wait to see.
Like, subscribe, comment. Love to hear comment.
love to hear
it's
hear
positive.
Yeah,
comments.
if you have
Um,
anything to
Or maybe
say,
if it's constructive.
as long as it's good
I
or
love Lamp.
positive towards me, that?
Yeah. Pick out your favorite How to Be a Film Snob host. We would like that. We'd like us ranked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You
no,
could
no, just-
nominate me for
just the
best
people.
host.
Best host. Out of the three
Hostess
of
with
us.
the mostest.
Next week we will be doing our Oscar special. Yet to be determined how that will look, but we will have one with the results of the Oscars posted, and so that means it'll be a little late. Won't be Monday morning. Probably either Tuesday morning or maybe Monday night. We'll see. But we will be doing an Oscar special, talking about the winners, the losers,
Our feelings.
and how much we don't understand anything that's going on right now. It's going to be great. It's
The
gonna be great.
speeches. We're going to discuss speeches.
Yeah, we might. It
Jokes.
depends on the.
how funny Will
Jokes.
Ferrell was.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they'll probably be funny, and I think yeah,
There will be some things to discuss.
it can't be worse than the Golden Globes. Let's just be real right now. Let's just be real right now. Okay, guys. Thanks. It could be. That's true. Thanks for listening. We are How to Be a Movie Snob. I'm Seth,
Mariah.
and
Pat.
guys, we appreciate you listening. Take care and keep watching movies. Oscars next week. Bye, guys.